What was the first publication that you actually joined? Could you remember that far back?
I do. The first publication I joined was New Writers Welcome, actually. It really was.
Well. Hello, Gerald.
Wow.
Welcome
Hi, Robert.
to our conversation.
Yeah.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm fantastic, mate. I'm very, very excited for our conversation. It's so nice to meet you in person. I almost wish
Same
it was face to face, so I could give you a man hug, sit down, and have a beer, or have a drink and have a refreshment. Get some nice sun in, and all the rest of it. Unfortunately, is via camera, but maybe you never know what the future might hold. But thank you for coming on. I know that you're somebody I wanted to speak to. I'm always kind of not quite sure when I ask somebody what their reaction is going to be. I think it would be fair to say that I've asked. I have a top 10. I have a top 10 list, and one or two of those I've asked, and sadly they've declined for personal reasons, which I completely respect. So I'm really, really pleased that you come online this evening or this afternoon for you. I appreciate it. So welcome.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much, Robert.
You're more than welcome. It's always nice to hear the accent as well, and that's one of the fun things I find when I'm talking to people. I expect everybody to sound like me. Of course, that would be no good. So it's really nice to hear different accents as well. So that's fantastic. Thank you. Let's start off. What I wanted to do, I think, was really go back to the start of Gerald and talk to you a little bit about your background. Where were you born? Where were you raised? Where were you from in this beautiful world?
So I was born in a town that's actually a decently sized city in California. It's actually the capital city, Sacramento. That's where I was born. And I lived there from when I was born back in 1982 until about 2016, when I had to transfer for work.
Okay.
And then I moved to Chicago. I lived in Chicago for a couple of years. Then I moved to Pennsylvania, and I've been in Western New York for a little bit too, but I technically live in Erie right now in my tiny home here. So for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been here in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Okay, fantastic. So what was life growing up for you? How was school and college and all that sort of stuff? How did you find your younger years growing up?
Well, in grade school, I was a nerd. I was a self-proclaimed nerd. I was very academic, very into studying, very into school. I had a lot of subjects I loved, like geography and math and languages and science and history and English. Like I was just an all-around student. When I got to high school, I slacked off a little bit, but I still graduated with a 3.0 GPA out of 4, so it was decent. Yeah. I was a B student basically, and then I went to college. I had to stop and start college a few times because I had some issues at home. I was still living with my parents when I started college. So I dropped out a few times. I never got to finish my degree in what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a teacher, and that just never happened for me. And now I'm unable to work. So at this point, I never finished my 4-year degree, but I would have in mathematics for teaching. So it's been a bumpy road academically as an adult, but as a kid, I was a very smart, bright young man. Well, at least that's what I was told. I mean, I might have been gaslighted, but you know.
No, fair enough. I mean, I think we share a common theme in terms of education. But I would always say that putting sport to one side, all I was really interested in was sport and women in school and college, but putting that to one side, I think my strongest point was probably my maths.
Oh yeah.
To where I am today. So it's something I really enjoyed. I would say that I was never really focused on English, and I was really, really poor. But being dyslexic, that I guess that didn't help. But it's always interesting to know where people have come from in the background to see where you are today, almost to a degree. Let's talk a little bit about Medium. So for those who may not know you, heavens forbid, who are you on Medium? And just tell us a little bit about your Medium story of when you started.
Okay. Well, on Medium, everyone would know me as the Sturge. I used to be just my full name, Gerald Sturgill, on there, but I decided to make a change earlier this year, back in like around my 1-year anniversary on August 2022. And I wanted to give a fun, like, creative name out there, like something that I could write under and feel more confident towards, because my confidence was starting to wane a bit on Medium. I was writing a lot, but I started to get a little stale, and I felt like it was possible that I wasn't as creative as I once was when I started. So I needed something to jumpstart me, and I think it definitely helped. I've been writing on Medium now since August of 2021. I started on August 15th. So it was like a little over a year, almost a year and a half now. And it's been a great experience. I came into it as a hobby. Like, I wasn't really expecting to do much. I came in, I was thinking maybe I'll write like 2 or 3 stories a month. And, not really, I didn't really have any expectations of myself, because I never really had confidence that I could really write before. Like, I was decent in high school and college. Like, I wrote really good college essays. It's just, I didn't really see it as anything that I could really pursue, because I was more into the numbers. So the numbers were definitely always my focus. But then when I realized that I had some sort of talent in writing, I just kept going with it. And when I joined your publication in January of 2022, at that point, I was writing like 2 or 3 times a day. And I've maintained that pace since the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you about the reason you chose Medium. Are you writing on any other platforms, or is it just Medium?
Literally just Medium. I had a friend who wrote for Medium. It was just some random online friend I had on Facebook who was writing for this platform. I didn't even know this place existed before 2 years ago. And I was like, oh, these stories are nice. And I was reading a lot of stories from Medium, from Facebook. I'm like, these writers are good. And then I didn't realize that I could actually do that myself. I thought it was a professional, like, writing platform for people who were like already established. I didn't know that they accepted new writers and people just like me who wanted to just get their thoughts out there. And when I discovered that, I went all in.
Did you? I mean,
Yeah.
when you first joined Medium, I think I joined Medium for like 24 hours and then become a paying member. So it was a similar story by the sounds of it. And we actually joined at a very similar time. I think I joined on the 27th of July. So it was just a couple of days. I think I published 1 story. I always tell people I was August 2021, the same as you, but it was the last couple of days in July I actually started. So that's kind of funny, isn't it? We joined more or less the same time, and we kind of took our membership pretty quickly after joining Medium as well. So yeah, it's always interesting. So when you wrote your first article, what did you do with it? Did you self-publish it? Did you go to a publication? What was your first experience? You've written your first masterpiece. It's an A1 grade. It's like if your teachers had read it, it would be an A1 grade. This is going to make tons of comments and views, or at least that's what I thought when I first did mine. Where did you put it? What did you do with your first article?
I didn't realize the power of the publications at the time when I first started. So I actually self-published it. And what's weird is when I first got it out there, it was very rudimentary. Like it was very basic. I didn't know how to format things. I wasn't really familiar with how to uh, break things up into proper paragraphs and stuff like that. So I basically had one long story with no paragraph breaks. And I went to this like free website with these free images, you know, not even Unsplash or any of the ones that we normally think of, like Pexels and all those, Pixabay and anything like that. I went to, I don't remember even the site I went to get it, but it was like a rudimentary image that I had used for my first piece. And I only had a title, no subtitle. And I literally published it, right? And I I threw it out there just like that. And I didn't really get any feedback on that at the time. But then when I started to read more and more on the platform, and as I was getting more acquainted with everything, I went back and I actually redid my story before you got a chance to read it. Because I know when you did my interview before, when we did the written interview, you said, wow, this was such a great story, this about technology.
That's right.
And yeah, and I had tweaked it a few times at that point. I had already paragraph break it. I add some more information in there. I changed the image. I put a subtitle in there. I'd actually featured it on one of my other stories later on so that more people could see it. Because I felt like when I first published it, I only got like 5 views on it. So I think I ended up now, I think I have like 20, 25 views on it. So yeah, I had to do a lot of learning, a lot of formatting, a lot of changing to it to get it to where it was. But I didn't really have an idea of what to do when I first got on. And now it's in a publication. It's in one of my own publications, but when it was first out there, it was just on my page.
Okay, good. I mean, we'll come on to publications and yours later. So we'll be talking about. But it's really interesting. Obviously, that's one of the reasons I created the publication New Writers Welcome, which you're a fantastic editor for. We'll come on to that a little bit later as well. Because I find it so frustrating being rejected constantly from publications and thinking there's something wrong with these publications because my stories are wicked and no one's taken them. So it's definitely the publication is an issue. Of course,
I would have taken your stories.
Me being very arrogant about that, knowing nothing at all, thinking it's got to be them, it's not me. But that's why I created New Writers Welcome. Do you think that Medium could do more to introduce and induct new writers into Medium? What's your thoughts on that? As a new person joining now, what could we kind of help people?
Oh, definitely. I feel like Medium, with as big of a reach that it has and as much impact that it has on the writers in its platform at the moment, I think that they could do so much more to onboard, these certain writers who come on at first. So like when you actually join, or if you join the Medium Partner Program, even before that, like I think they could have like resources that you could have readily available. They could have like classes, like sort of like things that you could just find on the platform that are easy to find, that you could just go into and understand how the platform works and how the formatting and the importance of publications, all these different ideas that we know as, I guess we would call ourselves seasoned writers now because we've been doing it for almost 2 years, but like just those things that we wish we would have had when we first started. I think Medium could do a lot more getting stuff like that out there and organized so that people can find it easy. For sure.
Yeah, it's definitely something, obviously I've thought about it a lot in the past, but it's just apparent because I think we've got very similar stories, and I'm sat here thinking now, Gerald, that if we got similar stories, then there's probably thousands of others who've got a story like ours as well.
I believe it.
When they first joined. So what was the first publication that you actually joined? Could you remember that far back?
I do. The first publication I joined was New Writers Welcome, actually. It really was. Yeah, January of 2022. I came to your publication first, and then right after I joined yours, Then I joined Illumination with Dr. Yildiz.
Yeah.
I have much respect for that man. He's a great resource to the writers on Medium. And then right after that, I had joined Authentic Eclectic with Allison, aka the Celtic Chameleon, aka what was her old? I don't remember her old name, but the Celtic Chameleon. So
it took you 4 months to join a publication. That's quite a long time. I mean, did you choose to hold off? And if so, was there a particular reason for holding off?
For me, in the first 4 months that I had been on the public or on the platform, I was only writing about 5 stories a month.
Okay.
So for me, I didn't see the benefit at first of joining a publication. I mean, I had seen the publications around, and I definitely noticed yours pretty early on, because I think you started yours in November, didn't you?
Oh,
November of 21.
I'm going to say yes. I can't remember.
Yeah. Either November or
October,
somewhere in there.
It wasn't too long after I joined. So if you're saying November, that I think that's probably about right. Yeah.
Somewhere in there. It might be October, but I know it's pretty close.
Yeah.
Sure. So I saw your publication early on, and it definitely interested me. So I mean, it took me. I'm not the type of person to necessarily always just jump right in when I make a decision or think about something that I want to do it right away. Yeah. Sometimes I give myself a lot of time to think about the pros and cons and just the implications of doing something. So, it could take me weeks or months sometimes to do things.
So how did you discover publications? Was it literally because you saw other writers writing within them? Did you do a little bit of background research, or was it recommended? Not specifically New Writers Welcome, but publications in general. Did you watch a video on them?
It's weird how I got introduced to them. So I did see people writing in them at first. I wasn't sure, like when I would see the titles and see the name of the publication next to their story, exactly how to do that. But at that point, I had started watching videos about Medium, and I had actually gotten introduced to Zuli Rain pretty early on. And she had talked about them in one of her YouTube videos. And I was like, oh, well, that's what that is. Okay. Yeah, Zuli definitely motivated me early on as I was starting my journey, not really knowing many people on the platform. And she was definitely an early inspiration for me.
Yeah, Zuli's the reason I joined as well. And it seems that the more people I speak to, the more people refer to Zuli. I actually watched some of her videos, thought she was absolutely outstanding. I'd call her my Medium queen. I also watched a couple of videos by a woman called Shelby Church, who ironically is just an influencer. I watched 2 of her videos today. She's not even on, well, I say she's not on Medium. She is on Medium, and there's a couple of stories, but she literally come onto Medium, wrote 3 or 4 stories, earned $5,000-6,000, has never written since. She actually wrote on Medium to prove you could make money from writing online, and she stopped. But she's a big influence on media on YouTube, and she just did a couple on Medium. And I thought, wow, so Zuli and Shelby can do it, I can do it. Yeah, it's a little bit more difficult than what they made out, but yeah, it's interesting you mentioned Zuli, because I think she's absolutely awesome. So brilliant. So then you joined New Writers Welcome. You mentioned Illuminations, which is a huge publication.
Humongous, yeah.
Yeah, huge publication. And yeah, I think they're up to about 55 or 56,000 followers now. I know Christina God did an article over the last month or so telling us the top 10 publications in terms of followers, and they were in the top 10, which is huge strides, partly due to some of the big publications closing, but I mean, I'd take it if I was in there. No, they've done really, really well. That's fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about your publications, because I think you run about 50,000 of them. you're in loads of publications, which is fantastic. And what I like about the fact that you're in so many is that so many people can reach out to you. Of course, some publications have particular niches, others maybe don't. But what it does show, you're almost like an illuminations in yourself to a degree. You just got them over different publications rather than all in one. You know, just for the people that don't know what publications you've got, and we will list them in the description below when this YouTube video goes live. Tell us your publications. Which ones do you edit for?
Okay, I'll start with the ones that I actually own.
Okay.
So the ones that I own are the Random Nerdiness Collective. Literally one day I needed somewhere to put all of my older stories. So I started it in that spirit, but then now I just branded as like the Nicheless Pub, where I accept all types of stories, especially nerdy ones. I just recently advertised that we're going to be pushing for more fiction and erotica stories in there, so that people feel more comfortable to be more open-minded and to submit all sorts of stories into there, so that they really know that it's truly a nicheless publication. And I just actually, we were talking about him earlier, Ciaran Lane is actually one of my editors in there right now, so that was kind of cool that we got to tie that in.
That's interesting. Can I just stop you there for a second? Because whilst I've got questions, I just want to ask, and we will speak about your other publications as well. Why did you choose to go down the nicheless? I don't know that many publications that are nicheless. New Writers Welcome were at one stage, because I think that's really quite a strong thing to have, where you literally cater for everyone. And I think that's really, really cool, particularly for, I guess, for new writers that are maybe still figuring out where they want to go. Why did you choose to go to the nicheless route with it?
I wanted to see a wide variety of stories within the same publication, because I know that when I go to certain publications, sometimes I feel disappointed that I don't get to see certain stories in them that I would expect to see. And I feel like there some public, I'm not going to name any publications specifically, but I feel like some of them limited themselves by narrowing their scope by that much.
I mean, that's really interesting. Why did you choose to go down a nicheless route for that particular publication?
I hadn't really seen many nicheless publications on Medium, and I feel like that the ones that I had seen that were just publications in general were limiting themselves too much by not opening themselves up to more topics. Like there were certain publications I would go to and expect to see certain topics, but I just never got to see them because of the limitations they'd put on themselves. Of course, I'm not going to name any of those publications, but I mean, you know, there are plenty of publications that could definitely go that route.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Okay. So let's get on to the next publication, because I know there's quite a few. What's the next publication that you own?
Oh, it's one that you actually joined recently. The Press Box. It's my sports publication, and I know that you're a decent fan of sport, right? Like you like rugby and.
Yeah, in the UK, I was always brought up with rugby. Obviously, the one that I wrote about was about Pontypool Rugby Club, which was a local club to me, and something my dad was very passionate about before he passed away. So yeah, I'm massively into rugby. Rugby up until probably this year or the last 18 months was the main sport in Wales. It is starting to get slightly taken over by football, or in the US they call it soccer. But growing up all my life, I've always been into martial arts. I many years ago, and we might get into this, I was into American football, and Minnesota Vikings were my team.
Oh, nice.
But that was a long time ago. And any type of contact sport, really. I mean, I played hockey for the school as well, so I enjoyed that. Table tennis was okay, but I mentioned before we come on camera, I've got a stigma in my eye, so I did find that a little bit difficult. But so I was never really good at that, but I really enjoyed it, even though I wasn't that good. So yeah, sports have been a big part of my life, definitely. But I digest. I'm almost taking over now, so I'm sorry. Let's go back to you.
Oh no, I was okay with that. I enjoyed listening to your sport interests. I was surprised I didn't hear cricket though.
Oh, I've got to be really honest with you. I played cricket for the school, and I enjoyed it, but I find it really boring. I find it really boring. I honestly, I would rather watch paint dry. I just, and to the contrary of that, I'm a very keen golfer. And a lot of people find golf very boring. But I just love being on the golf course, and I work a lot. I don't have a lot of downtime, but when I'm playing golf, I don't have a care in the world. And some people get really frustrated if they have a bad shot. And if I have a bad shot, I just smile. I don't mind. I don't get frustrated by things like that. So golf is probably the thing that relaxes me the most. Maybe putting a massage to one side, but golf I really, really enjoy. The other sports that I've played, I've been really intense, very aggressive in my approach. With golf, I'm very, very relaxed. So it just takes me to another dimension. But cricket, yeah, don't enjoy that at all.
Yeah, I love the variety of sport that we get from the entries into the publication at Pressbox. The Pressbox wasn't originally my publication. I had actually inherited that from one of Kiki Walter's editors, Gaurav Jain, who's no longer writing on Medium. I think I said his name right, but I'm sure a few people know who he is.
Yeah.
That used to be part of the family of publications with Kiki's group of publications, but I was given that a while back, a few months ago. But I love sports, so it was definitely a huge gift to be able to run that publication at this point. I've run contests there. We have a lot of fun with sports, and every week I have a American football NFL power rankings that I release for that publication. So every week you get to see where I rank all the 32 NFL teams in terms of how good they are.
Yeah,
that's
I'm
fun.
sure I saw one tonight, or it may have been yesterday. One that you released. I'll be honest. Obviously, I've written for your publication, and I fully intend to write some more content. Hopefully, it'll be accepted. But I thought it was mainly American football. But you're saying it's a variety of sports.
Oh yeah, we have a guy that on Twitter. His name is Aesthetic Football, like FUTBOL, and he writes a lot of football, international football pieces.
Yeah.
Baseball is big there too. Basketball. Let's see.
Yeah, I did see baseball and basketball. Actually, I did see those. Yeah.
I
think it's because I follow you. Then I see a lot of American football coming out.
Yeah.
So I just put two and two together and come up with the wrong answer. That's quite typical of me.
I've actually written a cricket piece myself, so I know you don't like. Okay. You don't really. You're not into cricket anymore, but like, I've written a piece about cricket. I've written a piece about football. Like, I'm talking about international football. I don't want to confuse everybody out there. I'm down with the lingo. I'm not one of those Americans who call it soccer.
Yeah.
I think it's annoying. Nobody else calls it soccer.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to ask, and this is coming away from publications again, but we've got a very big sports star in the UK. I'm a Liverpool fan, so I probably shouldn't mention his name, but David Beckham.
I love David Beckham.
I know a lot of people have come over to America and not really had that much success. And as you probably know, he's part owner of Miami. Do people recognize David Beckham out there for football, or is he just a celebrity, or do people say, who is this guy? What kind of influence has he had?
Americans generally recognize David Beckham.
Yeah.
even if they don't know exactly where they know him from, a lot of people will say, "Oh, there's that guy who's married to one of the Spice Girls, Victoria Beckham."
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he's pretty popular in America. Like you wouldn't think that would translate, even though he's been here for a while and he owns a American team and he's played on an American football club. So I mean,
Yeah, LA Galaxy, didn't he? I forgot about that.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
In the latter part of his career, of course,
Yeah.
when he wasn't as good anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's pretty popular out here. Uh, I definitely knew him. There was a movie that came out maybe 20 years ago now with Keira Knightley, Bend It Like Beckham.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a huge movie in the US.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I forgot about that. Yeah, I watched that
Yeah.
myself. It was good.
I
Okay,
watched it in theaters, yeah.
so going back to publications, we've mentioned two there, but I know there's many more.
Oh yeah.
So let's have another one.
The one I'll talk about briefly because it still hasn't really taken off is Internazionale. And it was
Sorry,
one
international.
Internazionale, which is
Oh,
the
yeah,
Italian word for or Spanish, or I mean, I don't know if it's exactly Italian. It might be Internazionale, but
yeah.
something like that. That one is for non-English submissions for writers who want to write in a different language. Again, I'm going to bring Siren up because he and I are good friends. He actually wrote a Chinese article in there a while back,
I saw it.
translating his poem
That's
about
right.
about the golden retriever. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I published that one in there, even though I couldn't understand what he was writing in there. I just trusted that he knew his Mandarin, and
Yeah.
I think it was Mandarin. And then he just put it on there. I was like, let's publish this. I think people are gonna like this.
Yeah.
So we did that. Let's see. Then I have
Well, just
actually.
before you go on to that, because I'd like to give it a little bit of airtime as well. Again, I think that's really, really brave. Me, with myself only really being able to speak one language, English, a little bit of Welsh, but not too much. I think it's really brave because, as far as I'm aware, Medium is an English writing platform. I was contacted by somebody going back probably about 6 weeks ago now, who communicated asking to write for New Writers Welcome, and I think it was Spanish. And I wish I captured it. I can probably go back and find out, actually, Gerald, because what I can do is, if she isn't already, I could send her your way, because I can't speak Spanish. And there's no way I could edit it. I think we had an offline conversation about this, actually. I think you approached me and said, hey, I can speak a couple of different languages. I had to turn her down because she wanted to purely publish in Spanish only. I just didn't know what she was writing, so I just couldn't accept her. So I think you might have really stumbled across something that could be a gem in the future, providing you get enough exposure. And that's why I kind of wanted to halt you there, because I think probably over the next day or two, perhaps I'll grab that when I'm editing this and I'll remember our conversation. I might write a little article, because I think that type of publication can help, not say non-speaking English people or people who have limited English who want to maybe write in their own language. I think that's very, very important. I think culture is important. Just because I can't read or understand what's being said, I think, let's face it, Medium is international. It's multicultural. There should be publications that honor different nationalities, and I feel sitting here, I feel proud, I guess, that you've done that. It's not one that I've looked at of yours, and I think it should get some airtime. So I might write a little something on that and see if I can get it out to as many people as I can, because I'd really like to encourage people to join that particular publication, and let's get the word out there, and let's hey, why not? Let's get it in the top 10. I mean, it could do. There is definitely a lot of cultures on Medium, and people who want to speak in their native tongue. And I think that's a wonderful thing that you've created. And I definitely applaud you for that. So congratulations. I wish I maybe learned about that a little bit sooner, but I'll definitely write something up and try and publish it, promote it for you. I think it needs a little bit more airtime. So well done on that. That's really impressive. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, my love of languages really helped continue to perpetuate that after I had originally collaborated with Kiki on this one again. She came up with the idea, and then I kind of said, this is going to be a great idea. We did this in group chat, and I was like, we should definitely roll with this because there are a lot of people who speak. Like you said, it's a very multicultural platform.
Yeah.
So many people want to speak in their own language, but they feel like they have to publish in English all the time to be seen. Yeah.
I mean, they deserve to speak in the native tongue. They deserve to. They should do. So big shout out to Kiki as well. I mean, it's fantastic that you guys have got together on that and created a wonderful publication. Brilliant.